Okay. This is a meeting of the Policy Review Committee, April 11th, 2016, 6 o'clock. Meeting is being held at the Daniel Boone Administration Building Cafeteria, aka APC. Okay, just to review the old business, we have two policies that are basically just paused for now, the student fundraising and the spirit activities, and waiting for our administration to settle in and make some recommendations.
Now, there is policy and guidelines for both of those. Also.
Yes, we're looking to major revamp them.
Okay, so I was
Whenever
talking with the principals. We were looking at different things, so it's probably going to be over, I would say, summer.
Yeah, that's
when
fine.
We start looking at all
I'm okay with
the
that,
guidelines.
actually. Or is the committee all right with that? We're just going to bump that down the road. It needs some major rehaul, but we need all the involved individuals to weigh in on it. And
a group effort.
exactly,
It's very big.
Right.
exactly. And the administration, yes, it has to be done well. I'd rather just leave the other one in place for now until we can get some good input. And I thought you'd want to run like a cycle, you know. Okay, so that's where we're at with 229/219, which I think it's 219 in our policies, but 229 is the one we're going to be building. Policy 109, we just brought that back up. Resource materials. In the February meeting, we decided to change under the first line under authority to match the exact language in policy 006, voting, section 2, that also refers to adopting a textbook. This is one of the things that we haven't done so well in the past, where we'll have policies that contradict each other. So I wanted to make sure that 109 was changed to match 006, in that it should say, quote, "The board shall, by recorded affirmative votes of a majority of the full number of board members," end quote. So if we can just check our handouts and make sure that that change did actually take place before we move it on. Anybody have it? I know it's in my package. It's all right. I was in discussion with the secretaries about it. Page 208. Is Sandy here?
The whole packet on policy manual
So it's in the index.
towards the back.
That was changed.
A little different format.
I thought we should actually read it. Did you see it, Mr. Potts? I didn't see it. Is it, you're referring to
Well, the part
the
you
index?
read, yeah, the 106. So the new policy written according to chapter 4 of the state regulations.
It's 109 that we were trying to
Okay, next one. Okay.
make consistent. I don't see reference to it. I actually wanted to check let's do this, if it's all right with you guys, if I can just confirm that those changes were made as per the committee's direction. I'll have them move it to the first reading. I'll just confirm that myself after the meeting. I just want to see it actually written in the policy. I heard it, we've been talking about it, and I just want to make sure it gets in the policy. All right with that, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move right on to the new business, policy 823. Mr. Harris will lead that discussion on naloxone.
Okay, the naloxone is the opioid heroin overdose reverser that we currently have within the district, but we're not allowed to use it yet. until the board adopts policy, language into the policy just for that. And we already have a usage policy, but not for that. So this came out through the PSBA, and the language here somewhere.
800 operations, naloxone,
Right.
paper with the PASBA heading. You guys have that? Just reading that.
That's the one we talked about with the, it'd be administered similar to like an EpiPen kind of thing.
Right, and we have it. The nurses have gone through all the training. We have everything done. It's just that we have to put some language in it specific to that use in our policy. That's new, and they provide the language. Yeah. This is it. Yeah. This is the language here.
And you're recommending this,
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes, and we already have it in the district. It's just in case for emergency, just like an EpiPen, but this is unique because it works on the opioid, the heroin, the other painkiller ones that people get addicted to.
Mrs. Bites, our health professionals are telling us that even if it's administered incorrectly to a child not dealing with a particular drug overdose, it's not going to have like any lasting harmful effects on the student if it's, say, our nurse would have coded incorrectly. So that's what they're telling us with that particular drug. So it's pretty good in terms of what it can be a lifesaver for some kids.
Right.
You have to refer to the outside.
And what is it, an antagonist for what specific types of drugs? Opioids?
Opioids, right.
Which is heroin.
Oxycodone. All really the pain meds.
And our nurses would know that? Like, how's that work? How they...
Even if you have a belief, you can't OD on this.
Can't OD
No,
on it?
And in fact, you can get it. I was told by police that they've given it multiple times to the same person in a day. If they get it, they go out and do it again. They can take it again. It just reverses the effects.
So how's that work with, like, parental permission? They have to sign for it at the beginning of the year?
No.
It's
This
considered-
is something, an emergency. It's kind of like the defibrillator. That's in
Sort
the
of falls
building.
under the Good Samaritan
It's
legal
kind of like the
protections?
AEDs that we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, like if
Correct.
someone's having a heart attack, they can be used. It kind of falls under that.
How do they know the dosage? Is it a dial?
It's predetermined. I believe it's predetermined.
It's
By
one-
weight?
For one dose.
One dose for all.
All right.
For anybody? What ages would it be administered over?
Any age.
Oh, like a kindergarten kid?
If he's or she is on it, yeah, it reverses the effect. It just stops the effect of the drug.
So we might want to put it in our policy, what age we would want it administered.
I know. We don't want to touch that.
You wouldn't want to leave that
We don't
up
wanna
to
touch
us.
this.
That's up to
The nurse, the medical.
health.
Right.
So you want to have this in all our buildings?
It's
and
already in the
everyone's
building.
staff?
It's already in the buildings.
who-
Nurses. The
who
nurses
actually-
have already been trained on it.
Did the state provide it?
Yes, no cost.
Lawsuit.
We're more of a lawsuit if we have it and don't use it. Because right now we have it in the buildings, but we're not allowed to use it because we don't have a policy. And every other district in the state has it. So this is something that the police carry. Yeah.
We're the last district
We're
to
not
do
the
this?
last, but the police have this, the EMTs have it, everyone has this now because there's such an epidemic. So when they go out to a site and they think someone's having it, they do it right away just to counteract it.
Is it administered exactly like an EpiPen, literally
I
into the
don't
muscle
know
like that?
how it's administered.
Is it a pill? Is it a?
I'm sure it's not a
pen?
pill.
Just like it into a muscle? What's that?
The EpiPen
Yeah.
is a very good analogy.
Okay,
It's a quick stick.
right into the muscle. And you don't think that how can I say this, would license the kids to do a little bit more, knowing that we have this on hand? Has anybody looked into that? Is there any psychology, like, yeah, we don't have to worry about it because we know the school district has that
Well,
naloxone?
these meds are addictive, so you go through withdrawals if you don't use it, generally. So it's not like a party drug, really. Heroin, it brings you down. So it's not going to lift you up and make you dance around.
Well, I'm going to leave it up to the committee. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't prepared for that. I just saw that on the agenda when I walked in the building. I didn't have a chance to do any of my own research. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but there's 3 of us. So if you want to move it on, Mr. Potts, you said you want to fast track it?
I would. I mean, we're not medical professionals. We're here to oversee the safety of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that if we don't have it, this could come back tenfold. This is something you just don't. It's a shame you have to have it, but
Mhm.
you need to protect yourself.
Okay?
Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
move it forward?
I agree. I mean, I wouldn't want to have something happen while we have them in the building. We can't administer them because
I don't know what other things are available, though, besides naloxone, because I never got to do any research on it.
Nothing right now.
No.
Nothing right now. This is kind of the save-all for those.
And how many kids are dying a year because they're not getting it? You have any statistics?
Do I know how many are dying? No.
Yeah, I
don't.
mean, what's the goal? How many kids I expect to save in a year using this?
hopefully none.
Yeah. I'd like
Yeah.
to come back in a year and say, we didn't need to use this.
Right.
That's great.
We've had ours for a year.
No, I mean, like statewide, this has been administered by everybody with us, but us.
No, not
and
everyone
how many
but us,
kids
but
are-
but everyone. The EMTs carried, the police carried. I mean, they gave it away to schools just because of.
Yeah, I'd actually rather the
The need.
EMTs carried it rather than us.
Well, they do, but like I'm saying, the state gave this to us because of the epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
They don't give us anything else, do they? Do they give us? They don't give us. I mean, they don't give us a budget, but they gave us this.
Okay, well, I'm certainly not going to be the one to block it, so I'm going to move that on for the full board. Okay, moving on to policy 105.2, exemption from instruction. The lawyer, we pulled this back because there was an oversight that we didn't read the lawyer's we didn't see the lawyer's comments before we moved it along. So we're bringing it back for first reading. As per the lawyer, he said, you may add the definition of specific instruction, quote, the language would be, quote, as used in this policy, specific instruction means identifiable elements of instruction by the teacher. It does not include required reading or academic standards. Unquote. End quote. So, first on that comment, would the committee like to include that language, which I think it was included, we just didn't talk about it. 105.2, anybody find it?
About,
Oh, number 4. Right, that must be it.
Written request must contain a statement with specific instructions describe conflicts with your religious beliefs and student and or parent should bring.
So he says we may want to define specific instruction. Does anybody, do you know, Mr. Harris, why he's suggesting that?
I think they're giving you that if they're having their child removed from some subject or discussion.
That the specific
Well, I think they're
instruction.
asking what exactly is offensive to you.
No, you're not allowed to ask
in
that. You're not allowed to ask that. I happen to know that. You're not allowed to get into debating their religious beliefs. I looked that one up already myself, so I'm not sure. Something about the required reading or academic standards. Mr. Hurley, do you have any comment on that?
I'm sorry,
What
I
do
couldn't hear you.
Do you have any comments on the solicitor's suggestions that we include a definition of specific instruction? Specifically, Specific instruction means identifiable elements of instruction by the teacher. It does not include required reading or academic standards. Trying to say you cannot opt out if the academic standards are in conflict.
Sounds like to me they're
I'm not
asking for
really
what
com-
exactly part of the instruction is offensive.
No.
If they're asking for specifics,
No, they're saying you can opt out for if you're opposed to the instruction, but you can't include specific required reading or academic standards as the specific instruction. That's how I'm reading this. It does not include required reading or academic standards.
where are you?
1052, number 4.
The written request must contain a statement that specific instruction describe
And
conflicts
3.
with the religious belief.
But you cannot refer to the required reading or academic. I don't like the
Shall
change.
not be the responsibility
I think if the parent wants to opt out, is that what we're talking about? No, specific instructions right in the first line too. They just have to identify what the instruction is that they're
Right, that's what I'm
opting
saying.
out for.
What
Not
part,
what they're,
what part of this
that-
is offensive?
Right, what are you
to-
opting out of?
Right, so when that part begins, that person can leave, and that part ends, they can come back.
Agreed. I prefer to leave it the way it is from PASBA.
Yes.
Anybody else have any comment on that? You guys all right with that?
Agreed.
I hate to put too many words in. Okay, and then the second part is policy 217 is referred to. However, Daniel Boone's 217 refers to student and the police. I'm not seeing a reference to 217. Must have already been fixed
Where are you
by the
at?
girls.
Where are you at?
There's a comment from the solicitor. The top of the document, just copy and paste it right in. Policy 217 is referenced. But it's not referenced. So I guess the secretary's probably fixed that. All right, so okay if we move on then? We're going to leave it as is. Okay, policy 111, lesson plans. Any flags in this from you, Mr. Hurley? Yep.
Does someone, I mean, how do you know this is being done?
Principals check teachers' lesson plans
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
On a monthly?
Weekly.
Weekly basis.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that, yeah.
So you're telling me that a substitute has adequate direction, no matter who that substitute is filling in for, whether it's physics, they're gonna be able to review, say if they have a test Wednesday and the teacher's out Tuesday, they can come in and pick up and have a review before the
A
test.
substitute teacher, a teacher supposed to leave a lesson plan of sufficient quality that a substitute teacher could walk in and instruct the lesson. However, I'm going to say, with that said, if you're in a physics class, the odds of us finding a physics sub are slim and none, so their content knowledge is going to be very
Yeah,
limited.
I know that happened a couple weeks ago, and my son had to help students.
Exactly, and you're going to run into that because we don't have many physics subs, so you
Right.
might get a phys ed teacher or something.
And there was a pretty large test that week, and it was a shame because there the kids were lost and they couldn't get any guidance.
Fair point, fair
So-
point.
Yeah. So generally, the work in that plan would be for a sub to do a project or an activity, something related to the class, but it would not be a continuation of that.
Not that anyone's lost, Dave, but
Well,
And I think he said it very well in that if a teacher, if it's a planned absence,
Right.
teachers are very good about trying to make it something that's not too
yeah, I think in this
in-depth.
case it was, he was sick, so obviously. you can
if it's
walk through it.
unplanned, do they ever send in like a bridge plan for the sub?
They
Assuming,
they can, and they should have a kind of a go-to
Yeah.
packet of things to do, activities. That's why one of the things we're trying to do to help stem the sub problem is offer payments per period for teachers who are teachers in the building,
Yeah, yeah.
who know the material, or could know some of the material, familiar enough to
Have a
continue
free-
on the class instead of having, you walk in cold and say, okay, I don't know any of your names. What can I do with you? Instead of having a teacher who's next door who has a planning period
I just
could
know
step
in
in.
the past, It seems like it was that way.
Right.
well, substitute here, what do you think? Well, we didn't really do
You
anything.
didn't do anything, right?
So I was like, well, that's next.
So at the high school, I mean, we could talk high school because that's the difference. They would either have a study hall, once again, or they would be in a room where you're just kind of working on something to keep them busy. Right now at the high school, generally they go to a study hall because why pay for a sub to go into the room and watch 20 kids or 15 kids do nothing when you move into a study hall, have one person watch 40.
Is that that plan to leverage teachers with open periods?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that the board doesn't have to be involved in that, right? You can just implement that.
The
It
sub.
depends on who you ask. Our negotiating team thinks that's outside of status quo, but it really isn't. That's for discussion. I mean, it would be a building change, a guideline change. I mean, it's an option, so it wouldn't be a policy.
I mean, are we pursuing?
We're looking at it. We're looking at the cost of what it costs to hire, say, 50 subs in a year versus having teachers cover the missing periods and paying them a piece of that sub cost.
Well, what about? Yeah, I mean, I guess I would look at it like, if I could fill every sub need, what would that cost me?
Right, exactly.
Not how many I actually filled.
Right. So if we had 100 absences
Yeah.
and we filled 75% of them, we had 25 outstanding. Well, now, do we have enough subs in our pool to cover, at least half of that? And then will teachers voluntarily go into classrooms? So that way everything is covered. Right now, the uncovered stuff is what we're looking at. And we're at about, 75, 78% uncovered for the year?
Well, again, to your point though, in the high school, I mean, how many of the 75%, let's say you fill, how many of them are adequate fills,
Right. So a body's a body.
right?
And I've done subs for years, and it's hard to get
Yeah,
quality subs.
I believe it. So I mean, I don't know. At least at the high school, it's
Right.
almost
High school is different than the
better to
elementary.
have the teachers fill in, whether it's cost efficient or not. It can't be. I mean,
It's not
either
much of a
way,
difference,
it's
no.
got to be marginal.
That maybe will come up in C&I. I think there'll be discussion in curriculum and instruction for that.
Yeah, check with Ralph.
Okay.
I mean, I just feel like that's a
Yeah,
pretty worthwhile endeavor.
yeah, I
Why
like
not?
that.
I think it's good faith that
But-
you're keeping it in-house.
Right. And it
I
does.
can't imagine the teach. Why would the teachers be opposed? I mean, they would be opposed to that, would they?
I presented it to the union. Was it Wednesday, Tuesday, and they didn't understand it. But when it was explained which teachers would be interested in doing that, they said okay. Basically, it would be if they covered the missing periods. It's about a stipend, kind of like a coach. It makes about $2,000 or $3,000 extra a year. And it does help their retirement because it takes what your annual salary is, and that's what you get paid when you retire. So that bumps it up a couple grand. So generally, as Preston was saying, in his experience, the senior teachers will do that because it bumps up their
But
retirement.
they'd have to qualify to fill the spot, though, right?
And he said normally that there's a line to get to do
Yeah.
that because you're already there.
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
you're already there, so why
You know
not
what,
pick
though,
up the
guys?
class?
Let's bring this back to policy, okay? Because I think that's more curriculum
Well,
and
that's what I'm
instruction.
wondering. Like, is this something?
They
we
would
have to-
use the lesson
Would
plans.
we have to?
They would use the
But
lesson
I mean,
plans.
for his process, would we have to?
I think it would come through curriculum and instruction. That's instruction committee, right? And then we'll bring it to the
I don't
full
know, I
board.
mean,
Well, they'll
I
worry
guess I
about the
could-
semantics.
No, I'm just saying.
It doesn't belong in policy. I just want to
You
move
don't
through
think
the
so?
policies. No, not yet. They're not even proposing it.
Oh, I mean, no.
If they need a policy change, I'm
at
sure
some
they'll bring
point, I
it
would
to
think
it.
you'd want to implement. this.
Right now, it's just lesson plans. Are you
right.
guys all right with lesson plans?
We're fine.
Recommending for full board? Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, guidance counseling? Any major changes here that we need to be aware of? I see a lot of dark, tight.
It just defines the program.
Well, does it define the program well?
Well enough for that, yes.
Mr. Hurley?
I started.
112, policy 112, guidance counseling. Do you have any concerns about it? Is this pretty much what's in practice now in the district? Or do we use the program to help students learn to make their own decisions and solve problems independently?
Yeah, we do that. There's a career exploration involved, social emotional skills.
Right,
involved
that's
in the
true.
guidance program.
Okay.
We're actually right now, and Carol, we're working on putting together a long-term plan for our guidance program, outlining what we do eventually, and this is a long process putting together. We're about halfway done right now, but we'll be putting
Okay,
that on the
so
curriculum instruction.
When you're done, if there's any tweaks to this,
Oh, yeah,
then
yeah,
you'll bring it back to
absolutely,
policy.
yeah. And I'll bring that to CNI when we're done with that.
Right.
So you guys can see it.
All right, so I'm
Does
gonna,
this policy help to shape the job expectations for a guidance counselor?
It does. Certain counselors feel that they're more of a therapist where the student can come in and talk,
Yeah.
and the others feel they're more of a kind of work with the school and build programming and help the kids through their college
Like an academic
readiness.
advisor.
Yeah, so it depends on how the counselor was trained and who they are as a person, and sometimes counselors may take on different roles like that. But you never want to get a counselor involved with discipline or anything like that. It's more a safe harbor for the students to go to.
I believe Mr. McKnight mentioned the goal is to meet with each student 4 times a year,
That's his.
hopefully. I don't think that's adequate. We think I look at that level.
Well, and currently we are debating, I think Rob will talk to that also, at the high school, and some students have mentioned that maybe counselors are split among grade, where students who are 9th and 10th have different needs than a 11th and 12th grader.
So they're really widespread, and over one day they're canceling.
Right.
Do they lose anything in the transition between them?
Yeah, and also helps that if you're dealing with all kids who are going off to college, you're in that mindset and you can work with them
Yeah.
in groups and instead of
Job
one.
placement versus going to college. So
Or,
that-
yeah, or I miss my mommy and daddy because I'm a 9th grader now, and what the heck is going on?
There's such a big difference. My son and I work with my wife at Penn State, it's main campus, right? And it's phenomenal. I mean, I'm sure if we can take a fraction of what admissions spoke about and place it over here, I'm sure they're missing a lot. So I just think that the guidance really needs to pick it up, especially for college bound. And early, even 9th grade, I think we're coming into that transition where I think with the pathways,
Right.
which way you want to go, I think that was the hit. It's a shame because we have so many other schools that are so far ahead. So that's going to give those kids a boost to go to University Park versus, say, California.
so both of your concerns, looking at number 5, does that language kind of identify what your concerns were?
Well, I guess the way I look at it is I feel like this is the guidance counseling program for high school students
Yeah, this is
versus the whole district. Like I
okay.
don't know how much vocational conversations or post high school conversations you're going to have with a 5th grader. So is it?
Well, don't you
I think
think,
they're more often go to the teacher at that level than they are.
Well, I think it's fine. If the purpose or the objective of the guidance counselor in a high school versus elementary school is vastly different, do we need to have a separate sheet or a separate, because I look at this and I feel like this translates to, your job expectations.
Right. Well, I think too, when you're in elementary, that's where the structuring begins. And I don't.
Yeah, I'm not saying
I
there's
think
no
it-
academic skill,
Right.
but-
Well, I agree with you. I mean, if you have the high school guidance and then you have the lower level, the beginning and the end.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking if this is in policy, that this feels very much directed at high school. versus-
This is also very high level. Too.
Yeah.
It's not
It's high
getting it's
level,
not getting
yeah.
down
Yeah.
to their
Just
daily
boilerplate.
duties and
because really, if you read like number 2, enable students to significantly benefit from the offerings of the instructional program. And that's pretty much across the board.
It's barriers to learning. They're addressing
Barriers to learning at all levels.
Absolutely. At different levels, you're going to see different levels of study skills that we're teaching kids, and that's really what we can.
And I'm not suggesting that the guidance program at the lower levels isn't.
Okay. Is there anything-
I'm making an observation.
No, that's good. No, I appreciate it.
That's just my own take on it. But
You do seem to think that this is the
Yeah,
the
yeah.
framework for everything that guidance should be
work.
doing.
And as we finish up with our plans there, if I need to come back to you, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
But that's certainly a start.
Okay, I'm going to recommend we move it along. Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
Potts, Mr. Scott, thank you. Okay, now special ed 113 is huge. There's a lot of links. Mr. Hurst, would you want to comment on it? How much did you look at it? Do you like it?
It just opens up.
Pretty much.
Do you guys have two 112s?
I did have two. I just thought it was a double.
Two.
Is it just a
Well,
double?
they're different.
They are different. Ooh, okay, thank you. That's how we get in trouble. Let's go back to 112. Which one are we moving along?
Sorry.
No, thank you. Anybody know anything about that?
I think they, yes, I think it was double spaced.
What do you mean, 2 112s?
Okay, I can do that procedurally, check with the,
It looks like they're the same.
just double spaced or
It
something.
looks like there's just, yeah, it's,
Okay, so I'll confirm there's no significant differences and move along.
yep.
Okay with that, Mr. Potts?
Yes.
Special ed is one I really am reticent to weigh in at all, because I really don't,
There's
I
just
wouldn't know
some,
good or bad.
there's just some language additions, so there's no change. It
Okay.
talks about the district developing a special, submit a plan every 3 years, adding a few words here and there, but it's not changing the scope of the meaning of it or anything.
So it's your recommendation, move it
Yes.
along?
Yes.
And obviously, the IEP, we're reviewed annually, right?
Yes.
Especially we get a transition. I know we had ones that were lost when they went from middle school to high school. That had to be brought up to attention.
Yeah, I mean, the ads, let me see, watch
The what, please?
the ads, the dark, the bolded.
Oh, right, yep, I kind of agree. But nothing scares me here, especially if our administration likes it.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, I recommend we move it along. So ruled. 113.1, discipline of students with disabilities. Again, if this is what the administration wants, I personally don't see my reason to weigh in. I think one of the things we're doing well here is special ed. I shouldn't say that, like we're not doing anything else well, but I always hear good things about our special ed program.
There was
And,
always, probably 6, 7 years ago, we had several lawsuits.
yep,
I think 4 or 5.
that's what I heard.
Here, and that, we dropped that down to,
And you were on the board then, Mr. Potts? Yeah, I heard it,
I
that
think
just
it's-
meeting regularly and opening up communication.
Dr. Otto
and-
had worked with Shelley, and
Yep.
we had Sweet and Stevens. They were our legal counsel for that,
Okay.
and overseeing any issues or corrections we need to make. And worked very well.
So I'm going to trust that if they're endorsing this discipline procedure, that's the way we want to go. Is that what I'm
I
hearing,
think
Mr.
the
Hunt?
major changes are just in the reporting requirements, which are, I think, are pretty much state mandated.
Okay.
Right, I don't know if we can,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
We can
definitely,
change
right.
these.
This whole page, I see. Yep. I'm okay. Okay with it, Mr. Harris? Okay, move on, Mr. Potts? Mr. Scott?
yes.
13.1, leave to full board. 113.2. Is 113 all the special
Yes.
ed? Can I ask the committee to take a glance through these real quick and try to pass the whole group of 113s at one shot, unless something comes up at you? Point 1, point 2, point 3. Is that, and point 4, is there any problem with that? Want to just take a minute and all of us glance at it? So I see restraints are only included if you have an IEP. What kind of restraints would there be? Just holding a child physically from hurting themselves or others type thing? Looks like there's no changes to the screening. So we've been doing, this policy is what we have been doing?
Yes.
Right? Again, we have a good special ed program.
I'm assuming with the seclusion, we have a designated area for that. I know, I remember Mr. Miller talking about the, you were talking about the room you guys have with all the columns,
On the
sensory room. Is that, I mean, do we have a
What is that
place?
called, mister?
sensory room.
Sensory room?
Right.
Is that present in all buildings have a sensory
No,
room?
piloting that.
You're piloting that?
Right, yeah, we went to, Twin Valley has it in every building. So they started in one and then it spread out. We went to visit theirs. What we think is going to happen is the hour or 2 hours that it used to take to perhaps calm somebody down, de-escalate them in a difficult situation, might be down to 10, 15 minutes using the sensory.
Yeah, 'cause it has like a whole variety of things
Right.
that sort of direct them
Something
to
for
other thoughts
everybody.
and
Exactly.
get them to take their mind off of whatever upset.
Redirection.
And we've already had experiences with 5 students, and the longest that it took to de-escalate anybody was 20 minutes. So we're documenting everything. We're going to do a presentation for you down the road.
But is there this speaks a lot about the seclusion piece, and do we have a designated place?
What do we do at the other buildings then for an involuntary seclusion? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
On,
There's a couple spots where it mentions
yeah,
putting the student
seclusion,
or in a, for the
113
safety of
too.
themselves or for other students to put them in a room, whether
Right.
they be with or without supervision.
How's that work? Just as we go?
Like where would that happen?
The district permits involuntary seclusion. Is this a new?
It would depend upon the student's IEP in terms of.
Oh, it does
if a
say,
student-
yeah.
If a student has a persistent behavioral problem and they have a behavior plan in their IEP, what it would do would outline specific steps designed on what that child's need is. And
Okay.
based upon that child's need, a behavior plan can look different, have different positive rewards and different ways to de-escalate different students as situations
Okay.
arise.
So-
So all that behavior plans are developed for students based upon using data like what's the antecedent, what's a trigger for that child, and then if that we try to avoid those triggers, but then if it does happen, then we prescribe steps for a teacher
Okay.
to do.
So it's the seclusion area would be defined in the IEP,
Yeah, if
worked out between
if
the
something
parents.
like that existed, that would be in the IEP, something like that.
It could be for younger kids. It could be a space designated in the classroom off to the back or side where they
Right,
sit in
just a corner or
a
something.
corner
Or
you know, or a room or an
table,
area.
certain
Right.
table.
Mhm.
Or,
Because it says, in accordance with the IEP or in an emergency.
I see your concern.
And I'm just, again, I don't want to.
I think that's what they're.
Analyze, but like, do they have a spot picked out for that?
It all depends on what the emergency is. I've been in situations where if a student's upset with other students or something's not going right in their class, especially with younger kids, there could be a spot designated in the area where this could be the relaxing corner where they could kind of disengage from the classroom and go to that spot. If it's two kids who are fighting or being violent, then they could be pulled out and put in with the assistant principal, put into the counselor's office with a couple of adults with that person. It all depends on what the situation is. But generally, if it's with their IEP and someone doesn't want to be touched, for example, well, the person coming in to calm that down needs to know that so they don't put their hands on the child to keep the child from harming himself or others. And usually you find someone in the building who has a better relationship with the student to help calm them down and remove them from the situation. You don't want the person that they're mad at telling them to get out. So it all depends on what the
Because
situation is.
in this policy, the definition of seclusion is confinement of a student in a room with or without staff supervision in order to provide a safe environment to allow the student to regain self-control.
So sometimes a screen could be put up, or like a room divider, that gives them the illusion of privacy when you're still in a room. That helps them calm down. You put a mat down, you put some
Not
games.
necessarily have to be their own room.
No.
They can be just isolated
Mhm.
situation.
Right.
It also says what it can't be. It can't be a locked room, locked box, or other structures or spaces from which the student cannot readily exit.
It's not a padded closet with a door with a
Right.
lock on the outside.
Right. I'm glad we talked through that. Are you satisfied with that, Mr. Smith? And more often than not, I guess they try to use, we're hearing that they'd rather use the positive behavior support plan. Restraint is used with specific component elements of a positive behavior support plan. That's restraint, not seclusion. Okay, I'm all right with that one. So let's do 113.1, okay, student discipline of students with disabilities, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Paz? Behavior support, 113.2,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
113.3, screening and evaluation for students with disabilities.
Yes.
I would like to have some discussion on the confidentiality, personally. I think confidentiality is becoming a bigger and bigger problem, and I personally had my own data, ID information stolen, and it can be quite inconvenient. So before we move this one on, I would like to make sure, I know there are things by law we have to collect. There's records in the PIMS, then we have to, but I would like the administration to just double check all of this personally identifiable section, mother's maiden name, student's date of birth, place of birth, biometric records. I would just like to discharge the administration to make sure there isn't anything that we really shouldn't, we don't have to be collecting to perform our mission of serving these special education students. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way about me. I know it says we're not, we're following FERPA. I also know FERPA was loosened lately to include vendors in certain situations are allowed to have access to student rec data. And it just makes me very uncomfortable to see that we're includes but not limited to all the personally identifiable information. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about it. If you want to move it along, so be it. But I would personally like that to be double checked. And
Is
from a
the
student.
parental consent, I'm assuming, has to be done in writing?
I'm sure they
It has to be
sign
done
off
in
on
writing,
everything.
The parental consent for,
Where specifically are you looking?
So
Can I ask?
disclosing any of the protected, I guess, information, it says that, to third parties.
We do that as a matter of practice. If you were ever going to disclose it, you would get a parent to sign off on something.
They sign something.
You would have them sign something
Okay.
as a matter of practice.
Well, my understanding is that vendors have access now through the state level, and I could check on this, that it's aggregate data, but it can be disaggregated. I don't know, have you heard any of that language, Mr. Hurley? It worries me what we're sending to the state through PIMS.
The state does mandate certain things be sent through PIMS
Correct.
every year. PIMS
Right.
is quite a,
Yeah,
it's,
quite a massive undertaking.
you invest a lot of time.
And it's growing. So that's all I'm thinking, if we could just have our administration take one more look at this section and make sure that there isn't anything we're collecting that we don't need to be collecting
Well,
for state requirements or,
Well, if it's going through PIMS, and tell me if I'm wrong, Rob, if we don't send it, it comes up as an error, correct? They flag it.
The state
Right.
requires that certain things, you're 100%, but the state requires us to send certain things to them. Each student has a state identification number that ties them into a database of some sort, and which is tied into eSchool, which is our student information system. So stuff is set up through that. We can certainly review everything there if you'd like us to review everything again.
would you mind? Would that be all right? Thank you. Would the committee be all right with that? Just have them take another,
How long do you retain that information, the files? How long do they retain for the students, say, after they graduate? Do they
Forever.
have to stay for, is it more than 2 years?
No, it's forever.
What's that?
is it forever?
We keep it, I believe. You're talking about the state? I don't know how long the state retains it. I can find it out for you, how long
Yeah.
they retain the information.
Yeah, I'd like the committee start to get an awareness. Part of this discussion is so that there's just open discussion and the committee becomes aware of
Happy to
the
find
data
out.
collection that's happening
We
and,
spoke years ago about record retention. So how long do we keep them and then
I think student records are forever. I'm pretty sure.
we electronically scan all that?
Yeah, it depends. No, I'm not familiar with this state's record retention laws, but it depends on how they say. I know in Indiana it's still microfilm because somebody's brother-in-law probably has a microfilm company that they're keeping in business. But yeah, it's some sort of But employee records, interview records. I mean, we all have PIMS information on ourselves, Department of Ed. I have a number. Everybody has a number. But I believe student records are forever. Should be, because it's just how it is.
okay, so if you could
Well-
just bring to the next meeting any suggestions for any of the personally identifiable information that we might not need to collect, and then any information you could provide about storage, how the data is being used, that is being collected, and for how long it's kept. Okay? I'm all right with that? That was a consensus, right, committee?
Yes.
We're all okay on that? Yeah. Okay, so I'd like to take a pause here. We've covered all the new business, right? Just to see if there's anyone in the public that would like to weigh in on anything we've discussed so far. You okay? Anybody from the administration have anything to add to the discussion? Is it robust and inclusive? Okay, so we have none for legal review, none for first reading, none for second reading. There's a list of where we're going in committee, besides the batches coming down from the review services from PASBA. We're going to be talking about uncompensated leave, building security, use of district-owned vehicles for program-related activities. We're going to develop a district stipend and reimbursement policy. We're going to develop academic activity covered expenses for student policy. I forgot about that one. And then a grant disbursement policy are all on the horizon. Anything else? Mr. Hutch, good? You good, Mr. Scott?
Yeah. Excuse me, just a curiosity question.
Mhm.
With the resource materials,
Mhm.
we had that discussion. What, are we waiting for something on that?
No, we just wanted to make sure the language matched what the committee, I never saw the final version of the policy. So we just put it on here because, well, let me double check.
Because I think that's the one where we got into debate about online resources and, right, using the internet and cell phones and iPads and, like, I think Mr. Harris brought up that the teachers will have kids, sometimes look
use
stuff
it,
up
right.
or, on their own phones.
Yeah, we don't actually have it today,
Sometimes
right?
that's pretty bad. I mean, I hear from some math classes that they couldn't get any real respect because the kids had the phone. And obviously, they can't check them at the door, correct? We asked that, my wife even asked that, so, well, it's such a problem, which he was a substitute, short term. And it was a distraction.
We have a cell phone policy, do we not?
I think it's in the handbook.
We don't collect them.
But is there a policy around student usage of it?
Is there a
It's
policy?
building to building.
Well, yeah.
Because of the different age groups of the kids, so it looks a little different at our middle level than it does our high school.
It's more guidelines, correct?
Yeah, in the handbooks for each of the buildings that
Yeah,
we do.
it's
which
guidelines.
You'll see very shortly next month. Each building puts together their discipline handbooks, and each one has I'm sure, I know the high school and middle school have phrases that specifically address cell phone
Right.
policies that they have.
So
Is
it's more
that-
building guidelines. Yeah.
Is that something the committee would like to,
I mean, I don't
Look
know
at?
if it's something
at some point?
that's an administrative
Let's see,
thing. I think.
let's see what the handbook.
Okay.
I think that's a case by case, but some classrooms, if it's a problem, why can't they be checked at the door?
It can be.
That
So
would be it.
we're letting the administration kind of handle that.
I'll supply the
without-
baskets.
I mean, it's,
Well,
I
it's
love
like
that
it's like the
idea.
new note. It's the new note passing, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
done in various ways. But what's happening, we're looking at expanding our Wi-Fi so that the students don't have to use their data to get on with, because teachers are they're engaging with the student.
yeah.
So if a teacher knows how to do that, then it's usually not a problem. But we'll see. And also,
Yeah, I mean,
we can block things if they're on our network. We can't block things if they're using their own data.
I'm not suggesting we create a policy. I'm just curious as to what ours is. You said you'll be.
Yeah, we'll
it's
take a look at it
guidelines.
when,
You should look at it.
yeah, I'd like to have discussion on that because I just think they're such a distraction. I think they're bullying each other. I think it's just, kids are getting mocked as soon as they walk in the door. Other kids are texting and making fun of them. And
No, it's great if they can interact with the teacher. And
Yeah, I agree.
I know. What's the balance?
I mean, you get
Because they're
in discussion on the college campus, and they're actually using the phones, and then you're actually answering questions
Yeah,
right
yep.
live. So
as much as
that'd
we
be
want to
ideal.
move forward with those innovate.
No, I
as
think using it as part of the curriculum and the lesson planning is great.
I also know they're going into the classrooms, at least in the high school, and then they're fighting for the outlets. They're charging them up off our electricity. I think it's mayhem personally, but I don't know how or if the board should be
I
the
think
ones
we
weighing
need
in
to
on
put
it.
phone jacks with quarters and lunchroom.
There you go.
In there, right?
There you go.
One for all.
So we'll just let that, are we okay? We letting that go for
You
now?
wrap it up, and they would not club on that.
That's not a bad idea.
But no one actually talks on the phone anymore. You don't talk.
They don't talk.
No, nobody talks.
Yeah, you don't talk.
So is it true that like pornography could be rampant up there too. These kids can be
What do you
showing
mean?
each other stuff on their phone.
Sure.
Is that true?
Not on our network, they can't. That's why it's
But
important.
right. Because we have the filtering, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but they can look up anything they want on their own minutes, data. We can't stop that.
Is there a way to block?
We can, but it screws up everything in the building.
It does.
Yeah, you can't block. I can't zap you. It's
I just
not-
meant like, is there a way to
yeah.
inhibit you from using your own data?
No, because then you have to block everything in the building. Yeah, it screws. And I think that actually they're illegal, aren't they? Because it
Yeah,
blocks
I don't think-
more than
yeah, that's
your
illegal.
bill. Yeah, it's
Actually,
illegal.
someone
You can't control
made
it.
the news on that.
Yeah,
And that-
it did,
that-
yeah.
The only thing, like they do at Immaculate, you're not allowed to have them out during the day. If you're caught with them out, it's confiscated. It's a parent thing. That's, it's either you can use it or you can't. Like, you can make it where you can use it if the teacher says you can, but you can't be caught in the hallways with it.
It all goes
I mean,
back to
you could
classroom
do it.
management.
It's just, yeah.
It goes back to classroom management. A strong teacher will embrace it, encourage it, and do it. While you're having a discussion, the kid could be looking up something and saying, hey, contributing to the conversation. You have a poor teacher who can't manage their classroom, there are other issues. They put the phones away, but then they'll run out the room and do something else, or talking in the back of the room. It's all about management skills. So,
Okay, we're letting that go for now then?
Yeah, like I said, I was more curious.
Curious, yeah. It was a good discussion. I appreciate it. Okay, so let me get back to 109 real quick, though.
Yeah, that's how we're
If that's where all that discussion was, yeah. I got them right here. That's a problem. In the policies, it says 109 is guidance counseling, because it's the old, I hate to bump this back again. It's the old numbering mixed with the new numbering. Okay, I'm gonna have it here. Here it is, 109. We discussed it on February 8th. Research materials, we discussed an ambiguous reference to the board under authority and delegation, and under authority regarding the scope of board approval. Approval of every single internet resource is not rationale in the current digital era. Right, that was the discussion. School filtering software blocks searches by category. Thus, only school appropriate links are provided to teachers. Our action was to clear up the ambiguity, the wording of the word full board, referenced by providing text of footnotes. I don't know what that means. Admin to provide real-time access to the footnotes. Oh, we wanted to see the footnote on that. More discussion for resource materials that implement, support, and enrich the educational program of the district. Well, I'll just double check that offline and make sure that we covered all the concerns that we had in discussion.
But we were just waiting to see
It's
if
not.
the language was changed, right? That was the thing. That was the. Why it was so
Right. So I'll just make sure that I verified the actual changes are made. Okay?
Yeah.
And I'll ask one more time if there's any public participation before I close out the policy committee meeting. It's 7 o'clock, and the policy review committee meeting is ended.